This might be easier than I thought.
Whoa.
Live streaming.
Okie doke.
You're on right now.
Holy crap. Here we go. I should put my headphones on, my cans on.
Pretty exciting. I'm not expecting anyone to show up, but we're here. We're live. We're broadcasting on YouTube. Right over there, folks.
Pretty blown away by that reality.
So I just changed it there. Let's see how long it takes to change over there. I would imagine about 30 seconds or so.
All right. This is the real deal.
Yeah, I won't leave that open, otherwise you'll get confused because it'll be so delayed, but it should be an interesting test.
Because on the R word.
1:11 when I looked at the time, of course. It's 1:11.
Of course. There we go.
So it's
working.
We're live. You can say hello to people.
Hello, everyone.
They hear you.
Oh, well, hello, everyone. I
No,
guess
that's live, yeah.
we're live today, and I am not.
No, it's awesome. One person's watching. That's exciting.
That's so exciting. Hello,
Probably me, I guess.
person.
Probably me.
Hello, you.
But I'm hoping that in time, if we keep doing it, it'll show up. So what I'm going to do is I'll send a thing.
Hi, guys. We're live.
Yeah. Theoretically, right now, I can see that you're only talking to me. So this is almost like a private hang at the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is kind of neat.
Yeah, I'm a little starstruck
So I
by
don't want
us.
to tell you ahead of time.
Oh, well, good job. I just have to shut my
And
body
there's no
down.
video right now.
None.
It will be, but right now it's just that. Whatever.
Oh.
This is what's happening.
Well, that's different.
Yeah, that's why I'm over here. We're just kind of trying. You know what I mean? Like, I'll edit this down. I'll cut this part out.
Okay.
For the show tonight. But I mean, for right now. Oh, I can't have this back.
No. No.
No, I mean, because we won't be able to clear it.
Right. But this song I love. It sounds like everything I like. And then it's our song.
It is. It's pretty cool.
You're pretty cool. Gets me into Hawaii mode, which is so not what it's for, I bet.
Cheers. Perfect. I totally get it.
I told you earlier, and I stand by this, it feels like holiday music a little bit. It's probably the organ. But then Hawaii comes in, as if we spent a vacation there. A holiday.
I got you right as you went into, I don't know which Muppet, but one of them.
Uh-oh.
You know what? You're doing a Melissa Vias and you're, oh no.
Oh,
That's awesome.
I'll take it.
Saving it, yeah. That's a saver. I'll
She's
take
the
another one, but I'm
greatest.
saving it.
It's like I have a series that I accidentally
Okay,
started.
photo. 3, oh shit, one more time.
Uh-oh.
I'm ready. 3, 2, okay.
I have a series I accidentally started on Instagram of celebrities I accidentally end up posting the same photo as. So far, it's Amy Schumer, Whitney Cummings.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very funny. This is a very cool chill hang. Like, I could do this for the first 3 minutes, just chill hang and talk to you like before we...
I'm
like
in.
it.
I like it. It gets me going to talk. You know I'm good at that. Whitney's was with a horse when she was doing equine training, and it reminded me of...
I'm trying to...
Okay.
It's awesome, but like I am trying to. I keep
Okay,
trying
I'll
to tell
just-
you, and you're not letting me do it.
Fine, I'll just stand.
Well, you can keep talking, but not to me.
Oh.
Talk to them.
The Whitney one is reminding my friend downstairs of me with her dog. So that cracked me up. And then the Amy one was after she went to the dentist. She had Novocaine in her mouth similar to me, and we both posted about it. It was pretty funny. I cracked myself up, but I'm a bad one-woman audience. If I leave my eyes closed, it's easier. Dance to my Hawaii song.
One more time around.
Here we go. This is good. With my eyes closed, I can just remember shit like, what do you call it when one word goes into another?
Segue?
No, when you're thinking of stuff.
You're talking to me again, and I'm busy.
I'm talking to myself.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that. I'm sorry. So it's my... Got it.
Yeah.
Well, how am I supposed to know? Start asking questions.
All right. So the new rule is keep your eyes closed. Don't ask questions. So...
Somebody's watching you. Now you got somebody watching you. No pressure.
Here's what I realize I'm the butt of the joke accidentally, and then I'm fine with it. That's why funny people that laugh like me around, because I'll laugh even if they're jerks. Like, I commented on a photo, Brian. No, not Brian. I commented on a photo the other day, and the comedian wrote back, "That's so cheesy." I'm like, well, you're asking people their opinion, and I was a publicist. Like, it's totally cheesy, but the other two aren't good enough to be good, so they're just crappy photos. And the third one that's cheesy is sellable and usable. So there you go. There's my extended review of your photo collage.
All right, you wanna light this rocket?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I should stop that. I
Uh-oh.
have to stop that music.
My Hawaii music.
Why not? All right, somebody's out there. Pretty interesting going live. A little nervous.
So excited. Hello.
There we go. And here you go, Mrs. Ryan.
Uh-oh.
Starting we're recording.
This is great.
What is?
The title and like the,
Oh, I cut it out quick. Sorry about that.
It's okay. No, it's great. Like
Here,
basically,
we're live. It's all the imperfections. We'll do it again.
Not ready. That's what Lauren used to tell Tina.
Well, that's what. Yeah, it's everybody. Oh shit, that's the wrong one completely.
Uh-oh.
Don't go, anybody. Try it again. If you haven't, no one's sick of this damn sting yet.
Not ready for TV podcasters.
Yeah, it was the not ready for
Live.
primetime players, is what SNL really was back in the day. Hi, Mrs. Ryan.
Hello, hello.
We are trying this live today. Hello, everybody, or anybody.
It's pretty exciting.
It is different, and I don't know why. It's obviously mental. It's why I didn't tell you ahead of time.
Because I would have freaked out.
I don't know if you would have, but there's a chance, and I wouldn't want to take a chance on doing that to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
doesn't seem fair.
Recovery time. TBD.
It's not that. Yeah, it's not the Dupe Your Wife podcast. Although that sounds like it would probably be pretty enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
Although I think that was just Punk'd, right? Didn't he ever get? Oh no, that was. Yeah, forget it. All right, I'm confusing my genres there. Anyway, hello everybody. Today is. I need a card to tell me. Wednesday, April 18th, 2018. Mrs. Ryan and I are here, and we are talking about 30 Rock today because yesterday I feel like there was some stuff you wanted to talk about Saturday Night Live, and for whatever reason, like I don't know that we ever actually got to talk about what it was specifically you wanted to talk about. So I thought
that's on me.
No, both of us for sure. But I thought I would open up the floor for that, and as well as talk about perhaps your affiliation with the other 30 Rock, and just kind of go from there. It's our first live show. It all seemed appropriate. Saturday Night Live, Wednesday Night Live, podcast thing, blah, blah, blah.
It's really perfect that you set it up this way. Because I feel it. It's a weird thing. I never understood what the feeling was different, and I couldn't. There's
an energy, right?
Yeah, and I feel it in my belly.
Okay.
In my sternum area, I get nervous. It's the nervous, like
sure.
Behind the stage door or whatever. Probably.
But it's not like cripplingly nervous, is it? where like it's going to be an issue where it stops you from?
No, I don't think so. I think I've gotten strong enough that it won't be a problem. Thanks so much.
Bravo to you. Thank you so much. And you kind of deserve a little pat on the back for that, I would think. Virtual pet. With the desk and chairs are here, we'll be closer together if we do that, so I could actually pat you on the back.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
Bet that's a reason not to get it.
No, you're so funny. What do you want to talk about? I've got some stuff here to sort of lead the witness a little bit, but I don't know what you wanted to talk about yesterday, and I know you were curious about my time at 30 Rock, so I wanted to just be an open book to you if need be, and to everyone else, and whatever, SNL. This one's live, so I feel
cool.
like in a weird way the pressure's off because
Right.
it's like we don't have to have anything produced, anything crazy going on. It can just be us talking, shooting the shit. You know what I mean? Like showing that it's live it is a little bit.
It's just really,
it pulls the curtain back a little bit and shows that no, we really just do all this. It's not edited.
It is not edited, and the SNL is not edited. That which always still surprises me. And you're making that face.
Well, it's hard to edit live.
Here's the thing: people don't necessarily watch it live; they watch it on their app or whatever.
I don't care what you're talking about. Is ancillary? No. You can say whatever you want. I'm just telling you, it's like a ridiculous point already, and I'm sorry to cut you off. I thought I'd just save us all some time.
Oh, okay.
Saturday Night Live.
I know it's in the title. It doesn't always mean people realize it's live.
I swear to God,
Not
it's
that it
so
matters.
funny. I would think that this was set up if it weren't happening real time. No. This is the Dave and Paul banter back and forth. Paul, what time do they shoot that show? It's on Saturday night, Dave. Well, what time do they do it? Well, they do it live. It's a whole thing back and forth. Plus, I think you're in the business.
Yeah, but I no
We're in the
longer.
business.
We no longer always associate with people in the business like I used to. So everyone knew. And even then, in fairness, I would fly in for the show and people would be like, when is it? I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
So I knew it then better. In advance then.
Well, all right. Then I'm going to say that comedically, then maybe you were just very, very good side man, and you set me up then to go ahead and do that whole thing. We'll call it that.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah. That's what I'm here for.
All right. Well, I know that going back to my time there, I know that I have in that box, there's boxes for the Letterman documentary, tons and tons of photos. I didn't feel like going through. I feel like if we start that's a whole other show. But I did go to social media and stuff, to Instagram, and look at some old ones that I've already posted, including like, here we go. Where's
that?
That's Conan. That's the first Conan set. But so this would have been really early on, like 93, 94, something like that. Maybe
When
95.
he took over the 12:30.
Sorry,
right?
yeah, the very first Conan, which would have been, when he took over Letterman's slot. Letterman vacated late night to go to CBS after he didn't get the Tonight Show, all that stuff. And then Conan was the nobody. He was a writer. He wrote on SNL Upstairs and The Simpsons and The Lampoon. But that was his first. Going back to that was his first set. And the impetus for it was, I believe that it was it was supposed to be sort of a rip on Lorne's office upstairs. And if you look if you were to look at the details closely, I mean, it's like one of those, the layout's not the same, but if you were to look at the details closely, like the paneling and the it's hard to tell in this photo, but the radiators in front of the window,
I feel like there's
they're
a
identical.
photo. Yeah,
they're identical. And at one point, the
crazy.
carpet was a different color. I feel like it was exactly the same. Anyway, whatever. So that was the gist of it, supposedly. I don't know if that's even true or not. But anyway, so there's that. And then here was Rosie O'Donnell. And there's no one in that photo, but apparently I
When was
liked it.
that? Ish.
It's all hard to say. I'm guessing in the 95 area, 94, 95 maybe.
Didn't she have a show though again in like 06, 05, 04? The Ellen craze, like after that whole thing, didn't she
Maybe,
have
probably.
another talk
She was
show?
on The View a bunch of times. Like, I mean, I think twice. I think she might have gone. Is she on The View now?
No, I think she was for a spell.
Okay, for some reason I thought she was there and then not there and then there again and then not there. But anyway, that's the only one I can think of. But it's certainly possible that she had.
I feel like I had
another
friends
talk show.
that worked on her talk show, but it would have been in like 03, 04, 05.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Yeah, I was doing other things at that point. But let's see. This was Conan, but this was a later iteration of Conan, so it probably would have been like 96, maybe. I'm trying to think. I really don't remember exactly all the iterations after that, but I can tell you that this was the very second one, just because I'm looking at it and I remember the details of it. That kept that set for a while, but they changed the backdrop.
Your eye for that shit is crazy.
Well, it's a little bit. I mean, imagine someplace you lived or someplace you have been every day, and you just know it so well. You know what I mean? Like you would know if a chair isn't in the right place or stuff. You know what I mean? Or if you painted. You know what I mean? Like if you look at a picture of your house from one point, you're like, oh, that sofa is from when we lived on XX Road, and oh my gosh, I remember those curtains or the color of the kitchen before we painted. Like a blah blah blah. To me, it's all that stuff. Plus, it's what I was into. It's what I was studying. I mean, all right, well, this leads me into, I was drawing things like this. That's that same studio, but at a different time. That was back when it was Dave.
Which is nuts. I mean, you also...
That one I think we've shown before. I think whatever. We've seen
You've probably shown that one, but...
But it was that stuff. It was that stuff that got me into doing, this stuff, which we showed the other day, which, it was all the same time. Like I was doing this television show, this little local thing, at the same time. And then here's the Today Show. I remember that one. Now, if you remember the puffy shirt, this is when the Today Show was upstairs. This is before they moved down to the street.
Yeah.
That's how old I am. I was a kid when they were still upstairs. But what's interesting for Seinfeld fans is that's the set they used, not just the studio, but those chairs for
the real one for the puffy shirt episode?
Yeah. Isn't that kind of cool?
Oh, that is one of my favorite
that's not why the photo. I'm sure I don't think that episode was even shot yet. Probably. I can't remember where
Who
that was.
knows? The episode was so spot on.
But and then here's you with the Today Show guy. I just saw it on social, so I yanked it too. You and Al Roker.
And Eliza's probably.
And Eliza Schlesinger.
And Jay Leno.
And Craig Robinson, Kevin Eubanks.
Oh, they're all there.
Yep. And then I'm assuming that anybody we don't know as famous is military. Is that true? Or were they Today Show people?
Today Show people, I think. There's a producer next to me whose name I don't remember, sadly.
Oh, that's funny. I thought that was Eliza. She's over by Jay.
She's over between Al and Jay, yeah.
From here, I thought that.
Me too.
Oh.
That day was crazy.
Oh, that's so funny. You're crazy.
Yeah. Careful, sir.
Yeah, so I mean, there's some proof of my time in the building. I thought I had an SNL something. I guess I don't. Oh, you know what? I didn't have any pictures, but I did find this. That was going back to see the show in like 2008. Actually, Chris Rock got us those tickets, I think. But Kali, who's sitting next to me, who used to be Chris's assistant way back when, who's our friend Kali, who we met through, we went to go see the show. This is when I was living back east, and she, I think it was 2008, 2009, something like that, whenever this girl here, Rosaria Dawson, hosted. Anyway, she was like, oh, let's go to SNL. I was like, okie doke, you got it. I used to work there. That'd be awesome.
Oh,
the gist of it was we went with tickets. I mean, they were VIP tickets, but like just with tickets. And it was somebody that remembered me there that actually put us in the hot seat there, right in the, there's three of us there. It was Monica, I almost said Monica Geller. Monica Goss, who was a former who's not even looking at the camera, and there was no reason to mention her. So I don't know why I did, but there you go. Must be the live nerves. And it's funny. It was like photographic evidence, at least, because I don't think they give those seats out. I think if you're downstairs at all, I think you are like a VIP or something. Not a VIP, but somebody on the show or something.
So
like
it's
that.
super small audience, as far as I remember, right?
Yeah, I mean, comparatively, I don't know. I mean, to the other stuff in the building, I think it's the biggest.
I feel like, well, I've only been there. That's not true. I've mostly been there with hosts when they hosted, and so I know that they were like, your host can have 6 people.
Yeah, I used to know the numbers. It was like 250 upstairs and 50 downstairs, or 200 upstairs, 50 down, whatever it was.
I forgot about the upstairs audience.
Well, yeah, because the downstairs, in fact, in this picture, you can see the downstairs is incredibly small. It's double what you see there because there's that on the right as well. And I believe, it's hard to see from here, I believe that is Wally Ferriston right there, who was one of the people. Yeah, this was, okay, so I'm a kid, right? And I know about David Letterman and about Saturday Night Live and stuff, and I don't know who Spike Feresten is or anything
Right.
at that point. So this was just one of the few people that was nice to me. You know what I mean? Like he was just
Right.
nice to me. So I don't know. I would think we're still Facebook friends or whatever. Yeah, I don't think he would remember me or anything, but it was, you know what I mean? Like I remember because not everybody was. They don't have to be. And I remember saying that yesterday. I wanted to say it again though. The people that made an impression on me made an impression on me.
Yeah. Well, the people, yeah, that's how I feel about people surrounding the show and on the show. Like
And I don't even think that was from, I'm sorry, I'm just jumping around in my mind. I don't even think that was from when I worked there.
that picture.
Well, that picture wasn't, but even like I'm trying to think of knowing Wally. I have no idea when he started at SNL, but I don't think I knew him from being there. I think so. All right, so my time working, whatever, any affiliation with SNL was very in the beginning, and very in the beginning. You heard me. No, but what I'm getting at is I stayed not friends with the show, but close to the show, to the point where like we would still go to tapings and stuff, well into like. Well, 99, maybe even 2000, like right around 2000, I feel like.
Okay.
Whatever. Whenever about the time I moved out here, I think I went back for a little bit and we were still going to tape. Whatever. The gist of what I'm getting at is I know and remember more people from the time not working at SNL from going to the shows all the time.
Right.
Because like we were hanging out in the green room. We weren't just sitting in the audience. So the green room isn't as fancy as it sounds, folks.
It's quite boring unless you are seeing a friend somewhere.
Yeah, it's not where you would go if you were anybody important. If you were really, you know what I mean. It's kind of where they put the people that don't have a place. No offense, you know what I mean. If you're a host or whatever, you've got your own dressing room.
Yeah, and that's where
people
your
would be.
friends go.
If you're in the band, same thing.
Yeah.
And for SNL specifically, what else is there?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's a host and there's a band. So there's cast, friends, and family, and I guess that could be maybe. But it's usually more fun to sit in the audience and watch the show. The energy is better in the studio.
Totally.
Anyway, whatever. We would watch it from backstage and hang out backstage for the most part. But through that, I feel like it was through that or a rap party or something like that. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The rap parties were always so fun.
See, I don't think I actually ever went to a rap party. I went to the host. Remember the host, like back in the day, like Chevy Chase days, like there used to be word about like the big parties the host would throw.
I don't know. I believe it.
Okay, well, I remember reading like up into the early maybe 2000s about the big parties the host would throw.
I bet in the beginning that's totally true because it was such an explosive thing. You know what I mean? Like just it was so new and so wild, and they were all so happy to have it. They were all hungry. Nobody was famous yet. They were the not ready for primetime players.
Right, and I feel like they just worked hard, play hard, like all the way through. So there was always the after party, then the after party, whatever to do.
Right.
But I experienced SNL totally differently, and I lost my train of thought a little bit.
After parties?
Yeah, I know we went there, but I forget why. Oh,
Well, here's what I would say.
Okay.
At least by the time I got there, the show was already legendary. So it wasn't like, you know what I mean? It was already the 20th season or something like that.
Right.
I'd have to do the math. But I don't even mean like the after parties were always just thrown by the show, I'm assuming. And they were always just hosted at a place, you know what I mean? At a bar or a restaurant or whatever. That wasn't all that spectacular. It was more like the camaraderie of hanging out with people at the after parties.
yeah.
Because that's when it got small and intimate. That's when there wasn't another, well, sometimes there was another place to go to. But if there wasn't, that's when you would end up at Jane Pratt's downtown loft or something like that. Or in, I always tell you every time I see him, he was the nicest guy, and I can never remember. I mean, we went to his apartment once, like literally cast member's apartment, like the younger cast
That's
members'
really
apartment. Chris Parnell.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. And like Jimmy Fallon was like, you know, a kid. You know, all this stuff. So everybody was hanging out everywhere. The guitar player was fucking cool. Anyway, I think it was through that stuff. I have no idea why I traveled down that road. Sorry. I think I just remembered all those memories, and it was like a flood. It was like a flood. Gosh.
It's probably for Cass. Okay.
All right, for you, what about the other 30 Rock? The one that's much more, the one that is the reason people know what 30 Rock is. Because when I was going there every day, if you were on the train or driving at the toll or whatever, where do you work? You'd say 30 Rock, and that was like code for, I work at 30 Rockefeller Plaza, which is the address for NBC.
Yeah.
That whole building.
But it didn't used to be known that way.
It wasn't known as
And
30 Rock outside.
I worked for someone who gave me a very stern takedown of what you do lovingly, but like, was like, don't fucking do that.
What, like make it
I wrote 30
generic?
Rock on a schedule and he was like, you can't send this out. Change it to the real address, whatever. Like, don't name it 30 Rock. He was very vigilant about certain things.
I'm confused. Was it an actual address on a piece of paper? Like,
I used to do schedules to people and fax them, and like they were.
Oh
being
yeah,
dropped
no,
off
it should
on
be
the-
written. Yeah, no shorthand.
And he was like, "You don't name it. Just write the address where they're going, which is the other side of the building, which has a real address, like whatever that is." I was like, "Okay,
That's funny.
whatever."
But you worked with Tracy Morgan, who was a cast member on that show, and then you worked all around that show, right?
Yes, and everyone assumes that I watched it, but I did not. I've never seen an episode.
You and I watched like one episode, and,
Okay,
and
then
it was
that's the
very
only
good. And we said, "Oh, we should get into this," and then life happened.
Right. I totally would watch it now for enjoyment, but at the time, everyone asked me when I worked with Tracy, like, "You must love this show," and I was like, "No, because he's like that. I
Right.
live that.
Right.
Like, it's fine." But a lot of Tina's book takes place during the time that she was there. So it's interesting to piece the pieces together of what you were doing. Like the Sarah Palin sketch where she was called back. She wasn't even working there anymore.
That must be neat. It's almost like the video game handbook or a handbook to a movie or something, because you have the career where she's on screen, and then you have her stories of behind. That's a nice.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying to say there.
It
It's like for a
integrates.
nerd, it would be like a pairing manual type of thing. And
Yeah.
I'm a nerd, so there you are.
You're a nerd and I'm becoming one, and it's great because it's exactly like what you say. I can align it with real life a little bit sometimes.
For sure. I don't even know what you mean, but
She was
all
the
around.
head writer on SNL from like the years I didn't watch, like 97 through I think like 2006.
While I was there, for sure.
While you were there.
And
And those are the
and
years
Higgins
that really
too was there.
Oh, yeah, she mentions
I think
Higgins a
he's
lot
been
in the
there for
book.
a long time.
He was there when I worked representing people to go host. So he's been there a while.
I'm trying to think. That was the first. Boy, we went back to SNL. Sorry. I thought of Higgins, and for some reason I thought of the ninth floor hallway, and for some reason I flashed directly to Gary Shandling. That was the first place I ever met Gary Shandling.
So
It was right there. It was right at the top of the stair. It's like, I don't want to tell, but whatever, at the top of the stairs there on the ninth floor hallway. I just remember it.
it's a
funny.
good story.
Sorry, that was me. Go ahead.
But it's good, and I hope you continue to lead the witness, because the thing about it's like it must be what you feel like when I'm like, but you know so and so, and I'm like, no, I know real life Tracy. I don't necessarily know as much about the show as it would seem, because I'm a huge fan of Tina's,
Yeah.
but not of her show, and I think she would actually be okay with that, judging from like how she speaks in her book and stuff.
Well, I mean, it's funny that we're actually talking. I mean, I'll just reverse the camera for a second here, and not because of me, but because of this artwork that you see behind and next to. I was a huge fan of Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip,
Right.
which was the Aaron Sorkin drama of the behind-the-scenes fictitious SNL that launched at the exact same time as the parody
So right.
version, actually called 30 Rock. So it was a kind of a weird thing. The funny thing was I was rooting for 30 Rock, and then when I saw them both, I was like, oh
No way.
gosh. Well, it was just one was, I don't know. They're both very accurately done in the weirdest way, from my experience anyway, of more of an observer.
Fully.
But one was, more slapsticky for America, and one was more like it should have been an HBO drama. It should have been The Newsroom. And in fact, if it got made a couple years later, it would have been The Newsroom, I bet.
Right.
Anyway, I was such a big fan that, and I switched so early, which was unusual for me to flip flop like that. But it was the product. It was the product. The proof was in the product. I couldn't change it. And I just I was Studio 60, so I bailed on 30 Rock. I didn't get it at the time. I think it was ahead of its time when it started, to be honest with you. And I
Very.
think that it found its huge success, and it deserves it. Alec Baldwin's great. Everything about the show is good.
She talks about it. Like the ratings were horrible. It wasn't supposed to get picked up. Like all of those things. Like she
I didn't
shits
know
on
that.
it so bad. But she talks about it in the loving way that I think of it, of 30 Rock and whatever, and all the NBC time. And like she has shows that she watched that were on NBC. So to her, it's like a dream to be there. So she's like,
Oh, that was, yeah.
this is the greatest thing ever.
That was me then.
Yeah.
Is that true? She was into like all of that?
Oh,
and the
beyond.
history of it all?
That, yeah. Like super
didn't know
into
that.
it. And when she got...
You've read that book 4 times. Now it's my turn, I guess.
Well, it's a great book. Like I would recommend Bossy Pants by Tina Fey. I would recommend it to anyone. And she reads the audiobook, which is what I listen to a lot. It's her voice.
Sorry,
I
I got you off there, but about her appreciation for the history of it all.
Oh, yes, she talks about
That's what's
when
interesting to me.
she interviewed with Lauren to work there, and really all she knew about
Was she
SNL.
in college or what was her?
She was in Second City.
Oh,
so she had.
So she was already performing.
Yeah, but
Writing?
Yeah, writing and performing, and that's part of her her shtick in the book. Is like, listen, like writing it and handing it off to someone else to perform, you don't feel what it's like, which is what the show feels like.
Really?
Yeah, in the best way of like, this is your audience. Like, you have an audience. You get to feel what it's like to have people go yes, no, whatever. Versus just writing it and being like, see you later, which is often what happens on shows and other stuff.
Well, there's accountability when you're standing right in front of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you for a comedian, if you tell a joke and there's, you get nothing, it's dead. Yeah, you feel that, I would imagine, at every core level. If you make a joke in a meeting and it doesn't go over, I mean, it's you get the flop sweat either way.
Yeah. That was my MO for sure. I thought I was hilarious.
Well, you're pretty funny. Everyone pretty much thinks you're funny, I think, from what I've gathered from the people who have watched this and the people that we know. Everyone agrees that you're really funny. It does seem to be that you're just funnier when you're not trying to be, and when you are, it's still funny. But I don't know. I think you're funniest when you don't know it. That's what I personally think.
I would definitely agree with that. And if I acknowledge that properly, it would let the pressure dissipate a little bit.
Who did we just saw somebody who was it Christoph Waltz, who was, because he's such a heavy, he's such a serious, heavy, I think it must have been maybe with comedians in cars. Anyway, does he say anything at some point about, I did not, I feel like I could go into him now, so it must be like, I did not know that it was a comedy until something, you know what I mean? Or I did not know whatever until they told me it was a comedy, something like that.
Oh, yeah. I think it probably was him. God, he's
I
so
don't know.
funny.
I might be making that up. But it's the same type of thing. It's almost like just be yourself, do your thing. Actually, this is advice for everybody. Now that there's actually people watching and listening, be yourself, man. Just be yourself.
Totally.
You'll find it. Everything will come.
Everything totally comes. The problem that I find is when I'm supposed to be on a track and I get off, that's when I panic. It's like looking down when you're on a high.
But what do you panic about?
I panic with myself that I won't remember. Like I'm afraid of forgetting stuff because I forget stuff all the time now.
Yeah.
And I typically do forget. Like if I don't write it down. But even then my notes are gibberish. Like I can read them fine, but I'm like, what did you mean?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Well.
Bad comedians.
I mean, what is that? Is that how you group things in your head? Is that how you're, you know what I mean? If you're mentalist and if you write something down, generally that's enough to go back and, oh, okay, I got it. But you're saying that even when you write something down, you come back and you're like, no, I don't even know what the hell that was.
I usually know what I meant. I don't always know where I was, like why it was relevant.
Oh.
And I feel like that's a typical, I hear that a lot from different comedians in interviews and shit. So I'm not worried about that. Like Mark Maron does a whole bit in one of his stand-up specials about it.
Really?
He reads Post-its and he's like, I take notes on Post-its. Like I write them in my car, I write them in the office, and I just put them wherever. That's his system. Yeah, and he read a couple of them out loud to the audience. He was like, I don't fucking know what I meant. I have no idea what this was about. Like, That's
so funny. Hey, we should go to look at this live kitty cam.
Kitty cam?
I know, still breathing. Still breathing, meow meow. Taking a nap. All that poor cat does is sleep. 16 and change.
Well, she's a cat.
Yeah, that's true too. I always forget about that.
Yeah,
I think it's when you read, like when you're preparing and stuff,
Yeah.
and you start reading like, whoa, what are the signs? And they get you every time with those effing lists. All the
Yeah.
lists on those websites are look for this, look for this, look for If you look for anything, you're gonna find it.
Oh yeah, that's how I felt about being sick too. It's why I stopped eventually. Like I just recently went back and then it was like everything's bad. Like we all know what's happening. Like she's dying, I'm dying, or whatever. Like we're
Right.
all...
So how can you focus on that and live at the same time? You can't. So you
No.
choose to live, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm like, be happy.
Yeah.
And your body usually works better. Like my energy, like, when I know what I have to do, I'm like, fine, just fucking do it. Like I had to pick up a bunch of ginger ale the other day and it was like as if nothing was ever wrong. Like that's just what it is.
That's so funny. Gosh, that's so funny. I totally get it. It is what it is, right? We're all falling apart little by little.
Yeah.
Once you get to a certain age anyway.
I feel like anyone with a healthy sense of life is like, eventually this will happen. Like you just fall apart. Like, so you can either plan for it.
We're combating it. We're doing the best we can.
Oh yeah. It would just fix it up. I'll just call Red Emery and be like, I need this.
Oh, is he doing that kind of body work now?
No. Oh, I didn't mean that. No, I didn't mean that. I did not mean that at all. What else? Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay. So
Please, actually.
my favorite, because I used to be a full-on narcissist. So my favorite memories of SNL were not always like the great hosts, whatever. Who would you? I love them and everything, but like the shows weren't that great. Who are some of the greatest hosts that you remember?
See, that's different. That's different, and I would hesitate to ask that because I was so removed from
Okay.
people that were actually, you know what I mean? Imagine me as a fly on the wall. Do you know what I mean? Because I was really I didn't need to be there. It was like I was there because I wanted to be there type of thing. Like I was just a fucking helper, an assistant. So it wasn't like, it was running scripts around, things like that. But, I didn't have a whole lot of host interaction or like any, unless it just sort of happened. That's where it gets weird though, because the places I do, they weren't the show. It's because I liked it so much that I hung around long enough that people got to know me, that I was ancillarily thought of as being a bigger part than I really was, like being a part, which I was really barely. Because this is the delineation I was making yesterday between like staff and crew. Like staff working on the show, as in like the creation of the show from a creative standpoint, like the ideas, the writing, all that stuff.
Part.
Okay, great. I wasn't part of that in any way. I was down on the floor. What would be the crew, the grunting, like what the staff would consider the grunt workers, the worker bees. We think this stuff up and then they go make it. It was like I was on that side. You know what I mean at that point?
Yeah.
And the lowest of the low on the totem pole as well. I was just an intern on a thing that my school said. You know what I mean? It didn't even make sense. And I was in high school. Do you know what I mean? Like it didn't. Nobody.
You were a kid. You weren't supposed to be any higher than you were.
And it certainly shouldn't have looked like I was interested in it. It should have been like, oh, I'm forced to be here
It's a
because my
job.
uncle's rich and he, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. Because I was a must hire is what you would think.
From Connecticut.
Don't get me started on that one. You drive your, that was really good. That was good. After my dad, you drive your Porsche 944 or BMW E30 or your Porsche 944 into the city. You park it at the Rockefeller Center garage, like the most expensive parking. Don't get me started. The craziness of all of that. Or just even the craziness of, I'm sorry, I got totally off of hosts. I was, all right.
Same.
Well, here's what got me thinking about it. It was the host that I remember the most would be Jennifer Aniston. Why? Because she got engaged to Brad Pitt that night. Why was that a big deal? I don't know. That was a big deal just to be around it because it was a buzz. And then also we sat at their table at the after party.
Sorry, I think that's super neat.
We
I'm
basically
such a huge fan of
we had
hers.
dinner and drinks and everything with Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston the night they got engaged. She was having a margarita, he was drinking Heineken. You know what I mean? And they were cool as hell. And it's weird, the stuff that you remember. But I mean, like this close, just hanging out. Everyone was just coming over and like, I don't know. We shouldn't have been there. And I say we because I had a whole bunch of friends. It was like one of those type things.
It's so crazy.
Gosh. Yeah, that's so funny. I just used to get to know everybody. That was my move, because I
Yeah.
was at first I was actually an intern at SNL, but the way I got into Conan was by going. It was all in the same building, so anytime I wasn't on a task, I was walking around the building, like following the tour guide, like listening from afar, following the tour guides, or just overhearing stuff and learning about the building, and then
Okay.
learning also the lay of the land. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you were working, absorbing all the time.
Yeah, I was mapping it out for myself so that I could know that, like, oh, this is where the NBC News with Al Roker Live at 5 used to be, but whatever the show is now.
right.
Or
You
this
know him
is
from
where,
that.
you know what I mean? I knew where everything was shooting in the building. So what I'm getting at is, like, so I would go down to Conan, which was new at the time, and they were happy to have people interested. And I would just kind of, stand in the back leaning against a wall almost. And I remember this one specifically because it's how I met Joey Abig, who I spoke about yesterday, who I'm so insanely fond of. Such a good man. Did audio on Conan. I was just leaning against the wall, and he was like, he said something. I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, sorry, I'm not really. I would just." That was my move. It would be like I would always just stand there observing, and I would be, like a meek kind of whatever, because I really was that. And I would just be looking at all the stuff that nobody who was there to paparazzi or to kill Conan, that nobody would be. I'm looking at the lights and the speakers and how the wiring is, you know what I mean? The sets.
Yeah, you never know what's going on outside of that stuff.
So that was my move. Yeah, I don't care what they're talking about. So that was my move, where I would be like, ready to, oh, sorry, I'm not really supposed to. I work up at SNL, and I'm totally into this stuff. You know what I mean? That would be my thing. But being willing to leave, having that be my thing first, would always be like, oh no, we don't have to. Hey, what's your name? And then that's how it would start with the people that I did connect with. And yeah, so I mean, those are more of my connections. I don't try to hosts I remember. I'd have to even look and remember those shows.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I do know, because I did the same
remember a
thing
lot
to
more from
myself. And all I remember are the people I had host, who I don't think are the greatest, which is, I think, a fair thing to say of actors hosting that show. But they're my best, greatest memories of 30 Rock. Like,
That's so cool.
It's so cool. And like the whole week of that, when you have a host, if you are lucky enough to be their +1 or whatever, which thankfully I was later on, you're there for the whole week, and you get to see the whole process of the writing and the creation of props and wigs and
it's
stuff.
weird. It's weird how the overlap works, and I'm sure it's all different these days because there aren't nearly as many sets with the video walls and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
back when I was there, everything was analog, and I mean
Yeah.
the equipment and the techniques. So the schedules, it was neat to have the staff schedule and the crew schedule, because
They're not the
they're
same.
different and they overlap, but they're different. Mainly because of anything. I mean, you write something and then you produce it. So I mean, it's staggered. But I think, was it Monday and Tuesday? Monday I think was off, maybe.
Monday was off.
Sunday was off. Monday I think the show is working, but I think the host comes in on Tuesday, if I remember. And I remember Thursday was the music. See, I remember the downstairs
Yeah.
stuff. So I don't know the upstairs. For me,
It's
it was
similar.
like we came in on, I think it was Monday. And anyway, strike would begin and all that. And then they would repaint the floors and pull the lights. And like basically the studio's reset. And then, the ideas would
Like
trickle.
clear, so that it's like
As
brand
if
new
the last show did not
every
take
week.
place. Everything except for home base, and the home base being the spot where the SNL band is, where the host walks out, home base, where the tongue of the stage comes out. And then next to that, where the musical guest performs. That stuff stays.
Okay.
And nothing else. And the bleachers, you know what I mean? But no
Yeah.
sets, no equipment, none of that stuff. So it's
Yeah,
all
it's
gets
a
pulled.
different show. Oh, that's the
Right, so
neatest
it's
part about
reset each time, literally back to one. So the ideas trickle downstairs, and then like roughs get made and stuff like that. I think we should watch it. I don't know if we've ever watched it. There's a James Franco documentary where he literally just hangs out for the week and just covers it all.
I really want to see that. I don't think we have watched it.
Yeah, we should watch that and see how it is. I think I remember. I think I heard it was in black and white or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, and then so things start to sort of, there are ideas in place at least. And then Thursday is the musical guest. They have the stage for the whole day, basically.
That's when the host does photo shoot for that.
That's exactly right.
They did.
That's exactly, no, it's what it used to be
Mary
for me
Ellen
too.
Matthews, who's one of the most brilliant photographers around.
Yeah, no, you're totally right.
Block at that whole afternoon
because
for that shoot.
That's a time when they have them both there, the host and the musical guest. You're
Yeah.
exactly right.
I think that's maybe my favorite day of one of my weeks there because she's
It was for
just
us too.
awesome.
For the, and I can't speak for everyone there. And for me, from an observational standpoint, that was the day where there was the least stress. It's almost like a vacation day because all you're doing is producing a music guest all day. Like you have time to do stuff. There's other work going on, but like that's the focus of everybody. So it's kind of like almost easy compared to the rest of the stuff you have to do. Building sets, striking sets, coordinating sets. And by the way, I'm saying sets. With sets come lighting, props, set decoration, equipment, all that stuff as well.
And
it's
if I can just interject, those things take so much time because they have to be that good on that day. Like,
yes, and a little more forgiving. I mean, you can tell that things are a little more.
It is, but you guys have to know like where things go. Like they move the sets so quick.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about seeing the show live is seeing how well produced it is. It is. It's. I mean, for 40-something years now, it's been the stuff. What goes into it is not really fathomable, and it doesn't. Even though they've started covering it nowadays with the bumpers in and out, it's not the same as seeing it live. To be in the middle of it, you know, you're only ever seeing one direction through the camera. Being in the middle of it with stuff happening all around you, it's chaotic, yet it's completely. I mean, almost completely organized.
It feels organized. They do such a terrific job of making it feel organized. It's a well-oiled machine, so it's usually like, sure, we know that. And then they know, like Tina talks about it in her book, like a lot of the writing that goes into it. She talks about that's more of an ongoing process than like they don't start necessarily fresh. I mean, they know who the hosts are going to be in the next week. They all have ideas. Mm-hmm. So they all have, you know, a general idea of what they're going to go in with and likely what the host can come back with. If it's a musician, like a boy band member who's going to lead, one of her examples, like might not come to the table with the funniest bit idea versus an Alec Baldwin who's hosted a million times and is like, oh, I want to do that next time I'm there.
For sure.
So that's...
Oh, sorry.
It's just it's so neat to see, and like the wig people. I was on the plane home with one of the.
That's the other stuff, and that stuff audience doesn't get to see. That's really the most impressive stuff, but you'll never get to see it, unfortunately. Is the behind the scenes stuff, like the stuff that isn't even occurring in 8H. Stuff that's occurring in the hallways is nuts. The coordination, because that's an old building and there are small hallways, and forget the people that they're getting in and out and the costumes that are sometimes large. The sets, the equipment, there's stuff everywhere.
The cast doesn't sit down. Like there's no place for the cast to really go during the show other than like there's a hair and makeup stable kind of back when I was there. Mm-hmm. And they just sit there because they're not going to sit and have a drink or a cheese bot. Like
there's nothing like that time anywhere near. It's frantic.
It's frantic.
Imagine backstage you know what it is? There's a movie. Man, I can't remember who the director is, but it's somebody really famous too, I think. But there's a movie with an all-star cast called Noises Off. Carol Burnett, Christopher Reeve.
You've talked about it. I don't know.
John Ritter. Denham Elliott. It's incredible. Mary Lou Henner.
Just keep going.
Nicolette Sheridan. Yeah,
so
I can't think of... Costing Larry from Larry and Balky.
Oh, love
Julie Haggerty. Anyway, there's this movie, and it basically is the behind the scenes of what it takes to put a play on. So it's like it shows they have the front of house that you see, you know, the set and everything, and then they spin it all around so that you see what's going on behind the thing. That's what SNL is like. By the way, it's a shit show. You know what I mean? Just so frantic in the stuff that happens.
Yeah.
That's what SNL is like, I think. It would be a good, fair interpretation. Except it is organized, and it's not a shit show because they know what they're doing.
It just feels like an awesome creative madhouse. Like,
Yeah,
I can't imagine what it's like during, like, when it's politically heavy, because every eye is on whatever. I feel like they have a research, and Lauren's great at this, but like there's a resurgence of new eyeballs every time there's an election year or whatever.
Yeah.
And they finally stopped playing to that. Like, I felt like this week was more back to SNL of like, we're just funny. There's a little bit of politics. Yeah, the Mulaney one.
That was a really good episode. I know we said that yesterday, but major kudos to SNL and John Mulaney. That was a really good episode, I thought.
And just
he's so talented.
So talented.
We should touch on that and we should probably wrap it up soon because we're almost at the hour mark.
Okay.
But John Mulaney is not somebody that either one of us were fans of, and I don't mean that in a bad way. He had a show called, I don't remember what it was called, but it was him and Martin Short. And the gist of it was Martin Short was a guy who had a show, and John Mulaney was the guy who wanted to work on the show and the whole thing, and then he worked on the show. And it sounded like it was going to be really interesting. And I think conceptually it was interesting. For whatever reason, the creative result maybe wasn't what everybody was expecting. I'm not sure. It wasn't what I was expecting. And it didn't do well. And it got yanked very quickly. And I think that was very quickly. And I think that was my only awareness of him. So him popping up here and there and being a very good writer and me not being thrilled with his performance, I don't think I gave him a fair lick, which is so stupid and unfair of me because I'm the one who was missing out because he's really good. John Mulaney, really impressed, and not that you need my approval, but holy crap, I get it. David Letterman on the thing when he got his award said something about the next if you want to know about tomorrow's comedy, essentially like that, you just need to watch this guy. And I remember at the time being like, all right, I guess. And I didn't do anything with it, but man, the SNL was really good. And I'm just blathering now. It's the coffee.
Every time.
Yeah.
The only other thing I wanted to say.
Everything's off the timing. Doing this live at 5:30 to 6:30 is like I'm a little off just time-wise. Like with my own internal clock, like jet lag.
That makes sense. The only other thing I would add, and then feel free to wrap it up, is that what I wanted to say yesterday was the SNL is so good with their supporting players again that, like, Leslie Jones, I think, is just triumphant as a performer. Like her, don't like her, whatever. Like
she's a cast member now, right?
Hilarious.
Pretty sure she's a cast member.
I'm pretty sure she's a cast member. She's just so funny, and I think she's like 40, which for women is like unheard of. So
yeah, at least I think.
Which is amazing. She's killer. And
I agree. I love her. I feel like you should do a little bit of research before you bring this stuff up.
Totally.
At least get a fact checker on a couple of these things. But
some of it
I love her also.
I like her a lot. And then Pete Davidson, who I do like and know a little bit more about. I listened to his Mark Maron episode.
Oh, cool.
And it was super neat.
Ooh, cool. Because they're both, they've both got mental stuff that they probably, how was it? Did they connect on that?
Yeah, they did. Mark, I don't know. I don't remember if
I didn't mean mental stuff. I meant like mental. They're both very open about mental health.
They're both very open about it. Pete has come out as, I think, borderline or...
I think bipolar. I think he said on SNL, yeah.
He's just really honest about his own mental health. And I think Leslie is honest about her situational health of like being single or not, or liking white guys or whatever.
That is correct. She is insanely honest and authentic on Instagram. Which I mean, I'm such a fan of hers anyway, but like her Instagram's awesome because if she's at the gym or if she's at an event or if she's feeling fat today or whatever it is, like she just lets you know. And it's vulnerable stuff too sometimes, which of course I'm more attracted to because it's so authentic. But
super real.
Yeah. Sorry, I took that away from you.
No, it's fine. I mean, someday I want to do a whole... I mean, I really hope Pete Davidson can come here someday because I think he's one of the coolest people out there. And he's so honest. His dad was one of the first 9/11 responders and died in the event. No. And so he talks a lot about that with Mark because it builds his comedy.
He was a kid back then, I would imagine. Holy smokes.
So a lot of his comedies built up, and his parents were just divorced. So it was already new that like he wasn't really already around, losing his dad and like,
oh my gosh,
the whole thing, which he gets really honest about with Mark because Mark's the kind of guy that you can talk to about that stuff. He's not gonna be like on to the next plug. He's really interested in that stuff. Yeah. So if you have any kind of connection to mental health or whatever awareness, his I was gonna say his that come to be my guest on SNL, whatever is
What?
for Earth Day, his charity that I thought was a charity. It's like win a trip to be a guest of mine at SNL.
Oh, I see.
But it's really in support of Earth Day.
Oh, that's nice.
But the mental health, the Mark Maron episode of WTF is fantastic.
It's so. I mean, it's my typical problem where and I'm a big fan of Mark Maron. I want to like audio only. You know what I mean? If there was video, I would watch every single one of them.
I'm super skeptical over which ones I do listen to of his because it's only audio, but because I know what both of them look like, I'm fine.
Oh yeah, it's not even about that. For me, it's taking in the information.
Yeah, I get that too.
You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, anything else here? It's funny. I did write down names of people I did remember. Jeannie from SNL was she was for lack of a better term, a cleaning woman, a custodial person who was on the eighth floor and ninth floor and took care of SNL. And she was so nice. Befriended her. Teresa, the NBC nurse, befriended, and Bailey Stortz, I remember befriending. And these were people that. The reason I knew them was because they used to be like Letterman characters back in the day. You know what I mean? Like when he was in that building, he would call NBC the nerd. So I would see Teresa in the hallways and I'd be like, "Hi, Teresa." And, eventually Teresa was just like, "Hi." You know what I mean? I mean, she was always nice at first, but after a couple times, everybody was like, "Hi." And Bailey Stortz was the really heavy set camera operator from the Letterman
He's in
back
some of
then.
the sketches.
Absolute tons of them back in the Letterman days. But because of how it works, those are union positions, and basically they stay put, and the show revolves around them. So when Letterman went to when Letterman went to CBS, those guys stayed. So anyway, he was there when Conan was there. So he and Glenn Arbor where I got a lot of that history from and everything. Gosh, I'm sorry. I just saw that there.
That's
anyway,
great.
All right. Well, I love you, Mrs. Ryan.
You.
We did just shy of an hour.
Great.
It is 6:30, and it's when we said we would wrap this up. So this is kind of fun. I hope it worked. I hope it's there, and we'll upload this after for everybody who didn't see it live. That was neat, though. I hope it was a successful test. I think we're good.
Okie doke.
Looking around at equipment and stuff. Nice. All right. I love you so much. We love you at home.
Love you guys.
And we will see you tomorrow. Yeah. Tomorrow's Thursday? Yes, we will see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
All right. Good night.